So the Pashut din of eating matzah is to eat a kazayas of matzah. The definition of achila in general for Yisurim and mitzvos is always a kazayas. And therefore it's surprising that when we look in the Shulchan Aruch, we find that the procedure is more complex than you would think. First of all, the Shulchan Aruch tells us that you shouldn't just take one matzah and eat a kazayas, you should have 3 matzahs to make a motzei and the bracha on the achilas matzah. And then you should take a kazayas from each of the top 2 matzahs and eat them together. And there's a whole discussion with achila, it's best to eat them mamish at the same time, and if you need to, you can spread it out over the time of Kedei Achilas Pras. But the big question is, first of all, where do the 3 matzahs come from, right? It's very nice, it's Keneged, Kohen Levi and Yisrael, and Keneged lots of other groups of 3, but in straight halachic terms, what is the need for the 3 matzahs, and what is the need for eating the 2 kazesim? So the 3 matzahs, it starts with the idea that matzah has to be eaten in the same way that it's called lechem oni, and therefore it has to be eaten like an ani eats his food, which is in pieces, that he puts aside a piece for later. So the first thing is that the mitzvah's matzah should be eaten on a prusa, and then there's a regular din, like every Shabbos and Yom Tov, that we need 2 shleimim for lechem mishnah. So then you end up with 1 broken and 2 shalom. That's 3. The question is though, why should we have to eat 2 kazesim? So the Pashut, the Shulchan Aruch says that you make the bracha of al achilas matzah on the prusa and the hamotzi on the shalom, but that still doesn't explain, because in general we don't have a kapeda throughout the year to eat a full kazayas from the bracha from the lechem that we made hamotzi. So just because we made a bracha on it doesn't mean we have to eat a kazayas. So the Meforshim explain that the need for eating the second kazayas comes from a suffix in the poskim, that there is an opinion in the poskim that flips it around. That there's be'ikr, we think of the achilas matzah on the prusa, which is the lechem oni, and the hamotzi on the shalom. But there is an opinion that flips it and says that you specifically make the hamotzi on the broken one, and then you make the al achilas matzah on the shalom one. Now, what would be the rationale behind that? So it's brought from the Hagos Mamanios that you start with when the Gemara says lechem oni, that's referring specifically to the birchas hamotzi. That there's a chashivas in the Leil Seder that the birchas hamotzi should be made on the shalom. The hamotzi should be made on the prusa, because that's the ikar of the Seder. And then the al achilas matzah by default goes on the shalom, because we don't want to make 2 brachos on the same one. So then what happens is that since we have 2 opinions about which one is the shalom, which one is the prusa, and whichever one we're making the al achilas matzah is the one that we want to eat the full kazayas from. So now we have to eat a kazayas from each in order to be mekayim that inyan. Okay. Now it's interesting, if you're medayik, you have in the Mar Makomos the tour. If you look at the tour, it sounds like he already has the inyan of eating 2 kazesim even before he brings the second opinion. So it's not clear that that's the whole rationale between the 2 kazesim. It's much from the Torah that even if we knew which one was the motzei and which one was the matzah, we would still be eating a second kazayas. The Bach says that it's an inyan l'chatchila, that it's best, even if you know that you're making the motzei on the shalom, that there's still an inyan to eat a full kazayas from the one that you made the hamotzi on. Now, one interesting application that we have to think about is, since the whole 2 kazesim is all based on the fact that you have these 2 matzahs that you made the 2 different brachos on, so that all makes sense for the one who's making the bracha. But for the other participants in the Seder who don't have their own matzahs, so they didn't say a specific bracha on the matzahs that they're eating. Usually what happens is the matzahs don't have enough kazesim to divide up to all the participants, so you have to add on extra matzahs. So if you're just eating matzah, so what's the difference whether you eat 1 kazayas or 2 kazayas? No one says the shear is to eat 2 kazesim. The shear is to eat 1 kazayas for the mitzvah of matzah, just in order, because of the brachas issues of 2 brachas, so you need 2 kazesim. So therefore, Shlomo Zalman Auerbach paskin that person who was eating from other matzah, which he didn't make the brachos on anyway, would not in fact need to eat the 2 kazesim. But the truth is, it's not all that much of a nafkamina, because anyway, we know that there's a big discussion about the shear, how big a kazayas is, and by the Yoraisas, we're machmir to eat a larger kazayas, which is about double the size of a durabanan kazayas. So anyway, somebody who's eating, participating in the suda, not using the 2 matzahs himself, would certainly not eat more than 1 dioraisa kazayas, which would have in it two durabanan kazasim. So that certainly would be plenty, and the other participants anyway, even though the mavarach wouldn't need to eat the 2 dioraisa kazasim. So in that sense, you wouldn't have to be stuffing yourself, all that extremely.